going to stretch out for 12 miles. They're going to put electricity through it for some weird reason. I'm not a scientist. The coil breaks unexpectedly, it curls up and it drifts off into space. So if you could imagine you're in mission control, they're going to be saying, yes, it's going to plan. Oh, something's happened, and it's coiling away, and they're just filming it from the shuttle with a voice commander describing what he's watching. So this is NASA transmission. This is nothing to do with CGI. This is nothing to do with us. This is a NASA transmission as it drifts off into space. Now the video will come later. I'm just going to tell you about the case. Okay? So, that's more or less what I said. And the astronaut who does the commentary is Claude Nicolier, and he's basically giving a running commentary as the coil drifts off into space. NASA footage, NASA commentary. Now, as I said, eventually from the coil it starts to spread out into a long ruler, 12 miles long, and for whatever reason it seems to attract light. So as they zoom in, if you can imagine looking at a ruler, you just got a long tube, but in reality that is 12 miles long, and the coil is unravelled and is stretched out. Now, before we see the video, what you'll see is that they've started to zoom in here. This is just a frame grab of what they see. Now, these aren't stars, for those of you that haven't seen the footage. As they zoom in, they see thousands of objects in the vicinity of this 12-mile long object. And it's akin to looking at pond life. You know, you ever looked in a pond and there's little wormy things flying around, little tiny things? Well, it's exactly like that, but this is in space, NASA footage with a NASA commentary. Now, it may seem crazy, but if that's 12 miles long, what we see is, when they zoom even further, is that all of these things that are seen are circular in shape, a la that. And you'll see this on the video. Now, if that's 12 miles long, that's got to be a good mile or so wide. And they're passing in front of, behind it. Now, the skeptics will try to say that this is an illusion, that actually they're passing in front of it. And they're going to try to say that what these objects are, when they've zoomed in, is nothing more than space debris, i.e. pee that they've thrown out from the spacecraft, and it's just floating around in space. It's just space debris. That's what the skeptics and NASA will say about all of this footage. They won't actually talk about it, other than saying it's just space debris. Well, the trouble is, people have watched this footage, and you hear the commentary, and it's them talking about, they'll say something like, the tether's now 40 miles away from the shuttle. It's now 50 miles away. And then they start zooming in, so they're already like 50, 60 miles away zooming in when they start seeing these moving objects all milling around this object. But you'll see that these objects are not just round things, they've got a wedge shape cut out of them. All of them have got a one, or some of them two, on the outside, like wedges cut out. And not only that, when you see some of them on the video, these are, if these were just, say it was a piece of urine deposited out into space, then you would think that the urine molecule would all behave and look like the same thing. Well, these are doing different things, because some of them are actually rotating, some of them are pulsing, some of them are light emitting. So it's a very clever pea that can do all of that. Yeah? And it's pretty amazing. So I've got a collection of clips that are not part of the PowerPoint, but there is a clip on this, and it's a few minutes long, but we'll look at it if you want to see it. But that's amazing, and you get this commentary. And this is like at 77 nautical miles from the shore. He zooms in, and it's elongated to 12 miles. Numerous objects. This is ongoing, this is many minutes long. And he's just saying, yeah, there's some debris in front of the camera lens. Well, it ain't stars. And they do appear to go underneath the tether. Now, what people have done since 1996 is people have actually tracked each of the objects that goes near the tether being the long 12-mile ruler. And some will go up and zoom off that way, some will go around it and go back down. So they're acting intelligently, curious about what this object in space is in their bit of the world. Okay, like I said, if that's 12 miles long, that object there, see the wedge cut out there, and this, for those at the back of the room, can you see that? And you'll see one or two of these are absolutely gigantic, and they are pulsing. See this little wedge cut out there? Wedge cut out there. It's almost like a flying donut, but these are pulsing. You can see the light emitting in a circular pattern. Very impressive. And NASA are just saying it's space debris. So it's a bona fide scientific mission. It's recorded on NASA vid. It's a raw feed. It's not manipulated by us. It's not CGI. The commentator, Nicolier, acknowledges that there's objects on the screen. The tracking analysis shows that they're going in weird and wonderful patterns all around this thing. And there's no conventional explanation for what these objects are. So just in terms of adding this fifth leg to my circumstantial picture, I think what you end up is this. What did I say about the circumstantial evidence picture at Crown Court? If you have enough pieces of the jigsaw to create an overwhelming and compelling account of what's going on. So in my hypothetical court of law situation where I'm arguing for the reality of UFOs as extraterrestrial craft in our airspace, the first case, World War II sighting, 44, with an earlier case in 42. Dish shape, huge size, metallic structure, no noise, possible EM. The radio was knocked out during that encounter. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, when UFOs are seen at close proximity, if it's near a car, the headlights fail, the engine fails. UFO goes away, lights come back on, engine starts up. It's called the electromagnetic effect, EM effects. And it also happens to aircraft, losing instrumentation, etc. So that's that. So they're all the circumstantial pieces that I think are evidential that you can present in a court of law. Because there's documentation to back that up. We look at the second case, Tehran. Ground visuals seen by the air traffic controllers, who then dispatch the aircraft. You get the pilot of the first aircraft seeing the visual as it goes away. These are only some of the points. Ground and air radar detection throughout it all on radar. UFO movements, multiple UFO movements, weird movements, multiple UFOs. Remember the object that is chasing, and then it dispatches another object, the red object that's on a collision course, and then a green object that goes down to the ground. Multiple UFOs. UFO landing, the green object going out to the ground, that lit up the ground like it was daylight. Now, many people have talked to me personally who've said, I've had a UFO sighting and I saw this object and it lit up like it was daylight. And this is in the middle of the night. You know, we see lightning, and for that blink second it lights up. But can you imagine you're looking at something and it's like daylight? Not just for a split second. That's seen all over the world. Countermeasures. The UFO uses, I think, electronic countermeasures to try to stop being pursued, i.e. dispatching the red object on collision course. That's a countermeasure. Get away from me. Then we go to the Belgium sighting. 75-minute dogfight. 2 F-16s. had already been seen visually on the ground by the air traffic controllers. They're dispatched. They don't get a visual, but all the telemetry data and radar is confirmed on 7 radar. Different types of radar. At one point they get lock-ons, weapon lock-ons. But the object breaks the weapon lock-ons. Objects aren't, once you've got a lock-on, you can't really supposed to break it in conventional terms. But this object did it on about 12 or 13 occasions during the 75 minutes. It was able to evade through its manoeuvrability. 9,500 feet drop at one point in 5 seconds. Pulled 35 Gs at that right angle turn. Multiple aircraft. So there were 2 people in the F4 Phantom. 2 F4 Phantoms. Okay? Then we look at Rendlesham Forest. These are evidential points that you can put in a court of law. We've got a landed vehicle, triangular. We've got documentary evidence that proves it. Multiple witnesses. Trace evidence, the ground depressions, background radiation. All equilateral, triangle. There were broken branches. And through a latent heat was discovered on a star scope, which is like, it shows latent heat, like on the infrared, and it showed that where the object had punched through the canopy of trees, had broken some branches off, but there was some residue on the side of the trees that was like illuminated under the star scope. Now either it was punching down or punching up. I think it was probably punching up out the area. But either way, it was recorded. Unconventional flight characteristics. The object on the 3rd night comes towards halt, stops, puts a beam down. Beam goes out, object shoots off. And then he sees multiple objects moving in the sky, making right angled turns all over the sky, like they were doing a grid pattern. We can't operate anything like that. This is over 3 successive nights. Displays intelligence. When the beams have been shone into the nuclear bunker and down at his feet, that's an intelligent act. I don't know what it is, but it's an intelligent act. It's done purposely. We've had, since this, we've added the radar confirmations from the Robert Hastings witnesses. The tether is NASA footage, raw commentary, multiple UFOs. We're talking hundreds. Multiple types of UFOs. You'll see what I mean by that. And NASA during the commentary actually acknowledges that it's happened, that there's something there moving. So that's very important. So when you put all those things together, I think all of those you could take into a court of law and argue that this is proving that the circumstantial evidence picture is real. And yes, it is complicated, because under the UFO banner there are many different aspects. Animal mutilations, crop circles, human mutilations, possible hybridization, abduction scenario. Very complicated. And then there are those people over many, many years, including some researchers, who will shy away from this compelling evidential evidence that I present, and have now gone down the line of, well, it's maybe akin to a spiritual event, or it's maybe interdimensional. Now, a few years ago that would have sounded stupid, but we're now finding through quantum physics that scientists, mainstream scientists, are basically saying there are probably multi-universes all operating at the same time. It's beyond something I can comprehend, but that's what they're saying. And the God particle, the Higgs boson, and the CERN, and doing all that, they're basically saying that there are probably multiple parallel universes. Quite what's in them, I don't know, but they are now accepting through quantum physics that there may well be many different dimensions. We used to talk about 3 or 4 dimensions, now they're talking about 11 or 12 dimensions. Things that are beyond me, but mainstream science is saying is theoretically possible. So there are definitely many complicated aspects to it. But when I am asked the question, are UFOs real? I have to think in evidential terms, because I want to reach not the people in this room, I want to reach the people on the high street who have no idea about the subject, and just make them say, well, actually you're not being presented with the best evidence. Come and have a look at this. Because if you did present this kind of best evidence, I think any intelligent person would have to conclude that what we're being told isn't the full truth. Because what else could it be? It doesn't make sense otherwise. The only explanation can be that somebody doesn't want you to know the reality of what's going on. And there are many, many reasons for that, which I'll talk about later. Yeah? Because it is complicated. But in terms of this lecture, I think all of those 5 cases demonstrate in different ways a lot of evidence that you could produce in a hypothetical court of law that we will get a jury to say, yeah, that's reasonable evidence. Yeah, I think they're real. It's never going to happen. But we're asked all the time, and journalists come up to me all the time, what evidence? They just understand, they don't understand what evidence is. But everything I've presented to you is evidence that would stand up in a court of law. Demonstrable, multiple witnesses, multiple documentary, radar confirmations, etc., etc. All of this is real. But you see, what they really mean when somebody says to you in the media, what evidence? They mean, show me the spacecraft. Show me the piece of spacecraft.
Yeah.
That's what they mean. And until these people are shown the spacecraft or the piece of spacecraft, for them, there's no way this could ever be real. But we are actually on a ticking time clock, and many of the people in this room will hopefully be around when it happens. And I'll talk about it more at the end, but by 2033, I think this will be a done deal, and everybody will know. Why? Because mainstream science said 2 years ago, and when I say mainstream, I mean BBC, ITV, terrestrial TV, science all around the world, basically said that with the new radio telescopes coming online around the world, that within 20 years of 2013, an intelligent signal would be detected in the universe. So the mainstream have actually set the disclosure clock running. Nothing to do with UFOs. They have said that within 20 years, mainstream astronomers through new radio telescopes are going to get an intelligent signal. So at the furthest, using that equation, we've got 2033. So a lot of the people in this room will hopefully, all of you hopefully, be here in 2033. And if we are, the whole world is going to have to gear up to one hell of a shock. Because the people in this room are to be applauded. Your blinkers have been raised a little. So you're actually having an open mind to come and listen to some guy like me telling you about supposed evidence. The real blinkers on for most of the people out there who subliminally have been told for the last 60 odd years that there is nothing to this subject, who go around their lives thinking we're all crazy. And that's fine, because they don't know any different. And they have been given a subliminal message through TV, radio, newspapers, books since 1953. Does anybody know what happened in 1953 to shape our legacy on UFOs?
All the world.
No, something actually real that happened in 1953. In 1953, the CIA, American CIA, commissioned a panel of top scientists under a guy called H.P. Robertson, top scientists of the day, to come together, and their mission was to, and it's all down in documentation that's been released since, it's not classified anymore, it was secret for a long time, it's now declassified, and it basically says that in 1953 we get all these scientists together and we are going to work to strip the aura of flying saucers, which was the term of the day in the 50s, and we are going to debunk this subject by working with the media. So in 1953, whilst there was some secrecy before, that was the final nail in the coffin. American led, and we always follow America's lead because of our special relationship. America is the most secret government in the world on UFOs. It owns the subject worldwide, apart from maybe Russia and China. Whenever a sighting takes place anywhere around the world that's a good one, the Americans turn up. Almost certainly they do have crashed, recovered UFOs, and there is a really good, strong case to say that they've been able to re-engineer, back-engineer some of the hardware, and they might have equivalent of what we now see as man-made UFOs, but not in the numbers that they talk about. Most are ET, but I think we probably do have some man-made UFOs based on reversed, engineered, crashed alien technology, because that's what we try to do. Makes sense. We try to make it work. And people talk about Roswell, and there's an offshoot from that is people talk about the transistors of the 50s and radios, big transistors, and then suddenly, literally just 20 years later, we've got the first microchip that's seen under a microscope, and there's all little moving parts. We made a massive jump in technology. People say that the circuit board came from Roswell. People say that night vision equipment reverse engineered from Roswell. People say fibre optics, and we have those nice lights that go around, change colour, light stem, fibre optics came from crashed UFO technology. People say that Kevlar armament came from reverse engineering. I don't know for certain, but it would make sense that if we did have a crash, we would try to make parts of it work. And what they do, and this has been acknowledged by many military people, is it's what's called special access. And basically what they would do is take a piece of hardware that was crashed, and they'd give it to one major industrial corporation and say, try to make that bit work. Then they go to another different type and say, try to make that work. All done independent of each other, none of them knowing where this piece of hardware came from, just told it's secret technology, trying to make it work, and they're probably all thinking it's Soviet or whatever. Sooner or later they're going to get some success, and from that we start to re-engineer. Special access programs being widely acknowledged by military whistleblowers. Special access programs. Black budgets, we're all aware of that. Yeah? So going back to this, before I start showing you some video clips, when I, as a former detective, put all this together, I think it's overwhelming, compelling, that these best types of evidence, just of 5 cases, would be enough to convince me and a jury that some UFOs, I repeat some, are actual machines operating with intelligence. Yeah? Okay, so thank you for that. I don't want a round of applause though, because it's thank you. Right, so let's come out of that and let's go into some fun bits. Okay. Can I do them in any random order? Oh, and by the way, have you got sound attached to this? You sure?
Yeah.
That's what. Do you want to put money on this?
Oh, on the projector.
Am I going to get sound now? It doesn't matter when we come to the tether. But this is the Teheranian incident. This is. Yeah, you probably don't sound. But basically, this was a panel. Yeah. Oh, it's off at the moment. Yeah. Let's see if it will come on. No, I don't think you've probably got sound. But this is the actual pilot who got in that dogfight where the red object comes at him and he's a general now, retired as a general. How many generals go on record? He was a top military pilot. And that's him giving his testimony at the Washington Press Club in Washington DC. Now the National Press Club is 2 blocks short of the White House. It's very close to it, and I've appeared and spoken there twice at the same podium. So this is really a serious place. And this was, I think, probably in about 2006. He gave his testimony on video to the press. Doesn't make front page news. Might make page 19, and they won't go to him. They'll go to somebody who's less famous, lesser well known. They don't present the best evidence, and it's hidden away in the middle of the paper in a little article. That's how they do it. But that's Parviz Jafari. So a real person would stand up in a court of law and tell us about that case directly. Now, let me just show you this. This is just again to prove that we have this, that we could present in a court of law. Again, you're not going to have the sound, but this is the guy who's the top Belgian radar expert brought in to work with the Belgian military radar experts. So again, what I'm saying is, this is a guy who's gone on record, who says, I'm the guy brought in to examine this, and this was real, and he does this drawing, which is I've quoted in the thing, and at the end of it, he basically says, I think this is extraterrestrial. He's nervous. Okay, so that's a great bit of testimony. But it's backing up these 5 cases. Okay? So, here we go. STS. Let's see what's in there. Right. Let's just press pause now. You might just want to get closer. Okay. This is a short clip, but basically, that is the tether. I've got actually a longer sequence, so you're going to get better quality. But that's the 12-mile long length. They've zoomed in, and all these objects moving around. See the wedge cut out, central hole, and this is pulsing. You'll see this on a better clip. This is just a short clip, but I'll get you a better clip because they're on a different file. But basically, let's just run that, and you can see that there's an object moving. Another one down there, another one shooting in here, and this is very poor quality. The better one is coming up. But bear in mind, there's nothing in space. That's what we're told. Right, it's got definition, it's got a wedge, and it's just slowly going round. And this one actually, and the longer sequence, it comes up from here, and then it actually goes to there, and then it goes down. But you'll see, now this is just on a sequence, but that's one of the objects, but it'll get better. So bear in mind, there's nothing out in space, there's nothing out there. I saw things moving. Flying P. Right, okay, so that's that. So let's go back. Okay. Oh, here we go. Right. I talked to some of the people before we came in. Do you want to see the? Oh, I'll go back and show you the tether first. Right. Let me just show you from space clips. Right, forget you don't need the commentary. This is from STS-48 shuttle mission, and that's not it. This is just the lead up. But what you're going to get is an object that does like a right angle turn in space. Right? So all of these objects are actually just outside the Earth's atmosphere. Many of them are moving. You see that? You're going to see it again. They think that this is, you know, when they did Reagan wanted to do his Star Wars program, they reckon that a lot of that was to do with UFOs. Watch again. There's an object there. There's a flash from the ground, and then it's going to do a right angle turn out into space. And then the flash comes up. They reckon that was the Star Wars, Ronald Reagan Star Wars program. So what can do a right angle turn? They try to say that that's just P floating in space. It's just a rocket engine, but this is miles away. Right, so that's another little clip. Let's just do them in the order that they come down because it's easier. Right, this is a daylight sequence of an object. It's a flying earring. This was recorded over England, over Portsmouth, in I think about 2003. Can you see that it's got 2 lights? It's got a chunk missing out. Oh, but look, it then morphs when it flashes more lights. Its shape is rotating on its own axis. This is a 4-minute sequence. See how the wedge shape there, and then when it flashes to 4 to 5 lights, the shape actually changes. See how it's changed shape? And I call it the flying earring, but it's turning on its own axis. It didn't fall into the ground, so what's its propulsion? And how can something change shape when it lights up? It's self-illuminating. I think that's amazing. That's a 4-minute sequence. Why ain't that on the 6 o'clock news? Why ain't just science saying, Oh, that's interesting, that. Let's find out what it is. But nobody ever does. Right, talk about night vision. This is a clip I took myself the very first time I used my Yukon 950, my Yukon night vision glasses. Cost 350 quid. It's got a video out, so you can connect it to a laptop, put it on a camera mount, and just pan. It's a lot easier, right? But let's watch this. Right, there's an object moving there, but it's very faint. Look at these two objects. These are just stars. This is a 4-minute sequence above my house, my previous house in Holmford, last of the summer wines. The first object you only seen very briefly, and then you've got these two objects. Now they're almost like tethered, but they're not. These are stars between them. This lasts for 4 minutes. They're bright, there's no noise. These aren't high altitude, and they were seen visually as well. Because when I set it up, I'm looking at and panning it using the laptop and the tripod, and my stepson was with me, and I said, do us a favour, just look over there, see if you can see anything. And he went, yeah, I can see two things. I went, what? And I looked, and he could see visually two objects. Now, I was in the Air Force for 6 years. Planes do not stack like that, and this was at an altitude of say 5 to 10,000 feet. Not high, this is not high altitude. They're at like this kind of angle, 50, 60 degree angle, and there's no noise whatsoever. Now, if you're not familiar with looking up at the stars, this is very odd behaviour. You don't see pairs. But other clips where I've not had the camera fitted to record, I've seen multiple objects. Well, this is one sequence where I caught something. Now what just ambles over the sky, stacked on top of each other, and that one will actually get on top of it and come further round. But if you try to look at the orientation, you think, well, it's going there and it's going to go over there, but then it's going down. So it started over here, and then it starts to go down, and it's the orientation from where you're looking. But you can try to work out where it's going to go, and then you'll see that it actually will come this side of the star. Planes do not manoeuvre that way. They were by far the brightest things other than the one or two major stars. So that for me is a total unknown. Planes do not fly stacked. Now here's an interesting thing, that during this sequence, and I didn't notice it the first time, you've actually got one, possibly two objects moving, very faint, going this way further on in the sequence. See, look, particularly bright star. See how that's now got more stacked? Now, if you're used to seeing things, there's no cloud whatsoever, but they've lost some of their dimness. Now you can say, well, they're moving further away. But the other stars are not losing anything, and they don't seem to be going away from you as such. Now what UFOs often do is suddenly just blink out, gone. And what happens after 4 minutes is this, blinks out, gone, blinks out, gone. Now this is not a lantern. Lanterns are completely different. They burn from the bottom, they flicker, and then they die out and fall to ground. I think it's around here that basically something is seen down here. But you see how they've now, its position was there, and it's now almost directly on top. And then that one will fade out at the end of the sequence, and then a few seconds left, that one will fade out. Fading, fading. Come on. Now if it's an aeroplane, do they just turn the light out? Or switch everything off? Oh. So that's an interesting clip. And I was saying to some people, if you've got a video camera, you can actually get lenses to go on, an infrared lens, a green lens, which you can screw to the front of your video camera. You just set it up, and I live where there's a hill in the background, and I just set it focusing towards the hill, and about a week ago 10 days ago, we had 2 really nice days. Clear blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. It was really nice blue skies. The hill in the background, I just set the camera going daytime, and it's got a picture-in-picture. It's got 2 cameras. On the outside, the bit that flips out, like he's got there, he's got a forward-facing camera, so on your left-hand screen there, you're getting normal colour, normal view, and then the rest of it is green of the hill. And the infrared lens is able to pick up objects that we can't see in our visible spectrum. And at one point, there's several strange things on it, at one point an object just appears from nowhere. I've not done the editing, so it's not in this sequence, and I'm watching it, and you can only really see it on the infrared, blue screen, clear sky, can't see it, and then briefly it pulses in light. It then comes into the visible domain on the blue screen, maybe for a second, and then it's gone. But when you play back the sequence frame by frame, in the infrared, it's really good, and it stunned me because it was not just one object, it then pulsed like a light bulb came on in the infrared. So I suspect that things are clearly can be seen through infrared spectrum software